Let's break it down straight from the hill to your hometown. No spin, no hype, just facts we find. AI's on the case, no truth left behind. Laws are written, deals are made. Who's got your back, who's throwing shade? We cut through the noise, decode the text, keeping it real. Congress in context, Congress in context, shining the light, breaking it down so you know what's right. Policies, votes, who's working for you? We bring the facts, the power is you.
Okay, let's take a deep dive into the inner workings of Congress. We're going to crack open a snapshot of its official record, specifically from Thursday, May 29, 2025.
Right. And the idea here is to look past all that formal language, in the Congressional Record.
Yeah, and pull out the really interesting bits, the insights that help you understand what's actually going on, even when the floor seems quiet.
Exactly what it might mean. The Congressional Record, it's the official log, right? The diary of everything legislative.
Every statement, every bill, every report, it's all in there.
Meticulously documented. It's a massive amount of information.
So we're going to guide you through this one day's entry, try to highlight the key stuff, and, well, explain why it matters.
Sounds good. So Thursday's schedule, let's start there.
Okay. The record shows the Senate wasn't actually in session that day.
Right, they were off. Scheduled to meet the next morning, Friday, May 30th. Pretty early too, 7 a.m.
Meanwhile, the House did meet on Thursday. They convened at 11 a.m.
Yep, 11 a.m. And we see Mr. Smith of Nebraska was serving as Speaker pro tempore for the day.
Which is just like a standard thing, right? An appointment by Speaker Mike Johnson to preside?
Exactly. Standard procedure. He's in the chair in the Speaker's place for that session.
And as always, the session kicked off with a prayer.
Offered by the chaplain, Reverend Margaret Grun-Kibben.
And this prayer, it actually included something pretty notable, a reflection on former Representative Charles Rangel.
Yeah, that stood out. It talked about his life, his service in the Korean War, even mentioned the Battle of Kunuri specifically.
And praised his leadership, but also, interestingly, his pragmatism, his willingness to, quote, cross the aisle.
It's a moment, connecting the institution to its history, acknowledging people who shaped it, and highlighting qualities like pragmatism, which, well, you need for things to work.
Definitely. So after the prayer, they approved the journal from the last session.
Uh-huh. Another bit of routine housekeeping, just formally signing off on the previous day's record.
Then the Speaker pro tempore led the Pledge of Allegiance.
Standard opening. But then...
That was pretty much it for floor activity, wasn't it? The House adjourned really fast. 11:02 a.m.
Just 2 minutes later. And the record says it was under a previous order.
So, 2 minutes on the floor. What does under a previous order actually mean in practice?
It just means the brief schedule was planned in advance. Set the day before, maybe even earlier.
Okay. So it signals no major floor business was planned for that specific day.
Right. But, and this is key, that short floor session absolutely does not mean nothing happened in Congress that day.
No, the record shows tons of activity behind the scenes.
Exactly. Which brings us to all that routine business.
Yeah.
The stuff that keeps the legislative gears grinding away constantly.
Like all the executive communications and reports that get logged and sent to committees.
Yeah, a significant number, actually. It shows that constant flow of info between government agencies and Congress. It's crucial for oversight.
We see reports from all over, like the Office of Minority and Women Inclusion's annual report. That went to Financial Services.
Right. And FRC, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, they sent a report about hydropower construction deadlines to Energy and Commerce.
So committees get these regular updates from the agencies they oversee.
Precisely. And there were several reports from Treasury, too, related to national emergencies.
Things like investments in Chinese companies, Sudan, sensitive tech, Iran, Belarus.
All referred to the Committee on Foreign Affairs. It shows how these presidential emergency declarations often trigger specific reporting back to Congress. Keeps them in the loop.
We also saw letters from the D.C. Council transmitting local laws they passed.
Like designating Louise B. Miller Way and something about disability insurance. Those went to oversight and government reform.
Reminds you of Congress's unique oversight role for the capital city.
Definitely. Plus, notifications about nominations, vacancies from HHS and transportation, reports from OPM, the Public Interest Declassification Board.
All going to oversight and government reform, too. Seems like they handle a lot of the government administration stuff.
They do. And then the court system sent reports, crime victims' rights, bankruptcy stats, to the Judiciary Committee.
Makes sense. And Treasury sent an update on the debt limit to Ways and Means.
The Tax Writing Committee.
Yeah.
So, see, even on a day with barely any floor time, these committees are constantly receiving official information, fuel for their future work.
And speaking of legislative work, there was movement on an existing bill.
Right. The record shows a report was delivered from Energy and Commerce on H.R. 2483. That's a bill reauthorizing opioid programs.
And it was referred to the Committee of the Whole House. What's the significance of that step?
The Committee of the Whole. Well, it's basically the House operating under slightly different, faster rules to consider legislation.
So it means the bill cleared its main committees and is positioned for potential floor debate.
Exactly. It's moved along. And notably, other committees, Education and Workforce, Judiciary, Financial Services, were formally discharged from considering it.
Discharged, meaning they're done with it.
Yep. It's a procedural step confirming those committees have finished their part, clearing the way for the bill to move to the Committee of the Whole and closer to a potential floor vote.
Okay, so that's reports flowing in, existing bills moving forward. But a huge part of Congress is always introducing new ideas, right?
Absolutely fundamental.
Yeah.
And on this one Thursday, even with that tiny floor session, members formally introduced over 50 new bills and resolutions in the House.
Wow, 50 new proposals in just one day. That really paints a picture of the volume.
It does. And they covered just about everything imaginable, reflects all the different concerns members bring from back home, plus the sheer complexity of policy.
We probably can't list all 50, but maybe give us a flavor, some examples.
Sure. Let's see. There were several on energy policy. Things like reviewing grid regulations, securing critical resources, generation standards, notice for power plant retirement.
So focused on reliability and security, mostly to energy and commerce.
Primarily, yes.
Oh.
Then there was a whole batch on veterans affairs. Transferring education benefits for dependents, reporting on veteran deaths, care for PFAS exposure, improving VA reports, even stuff about the transition out of service, like an oath or medical separation accountability.
A lot of focus there. Veterans Affairs or Armed Services Committees, I assume.
Mostly, yes.
No.
Then finance and the economy. That was big, too.
What kind of proposals?
Well, regulating digital commodities. Very current topic. Combating human trafficking via finance. Raising crowdfunding limits.
Interesting mix. Anything else?
Yeah, a proposal to ban members of Congress from financial dealings with foreign adversaries. Also ideas on auto insurance rates, Medicare Part B penalties. Lots going to financial services or Ways and Means.
Okay. What about transportation?
All sorts. Prohibiting stacked horse transport, very specific. Using digital tools for highway environmental reviews. AI sensors at rail crossings. Transit tech for accessibility. Requiring automatic emergency braking. Making airlines disclose delay times.
A real grab bag. Safety, tech, efficiency to transportation and infrastructure.
Usually, yes. And the social policy, healthcare. Adding suicide prevention info to school IDs, data on police interactions with the mentally ill, menstrual product availability, scholarships for mental health workers, grants for unarmed crisis response.
Addressing some really critical public health and social issues there, spread across a few committees, I bet.
Right. Education and workforce, energy and commerce, others too.
And it wasn't just bills, right? Resolutions, too.
Correct. Several resolutions introduced. These often express the sense of the House, maybe commemorate something, or recognize a group.
Like what kind of topics?
Supporting Senate ratification of the UN Biodiversity Convention, ALS Awareness Month, commemorating institutes, condemning police brutality globally, congratulating veterans groups, designating awareness days like Disability Reproductive Equity Day, concern about Mexican constitutional reforms. A huge range.
It's fascinating how these resolutions let members formally weigh in on so many different things, even if they don't actually make law.
It's a key platform for that. And speaking of resolutions, there was one that definitely catches the eye because of its political nature. H.Res. 448.
Okay, what was that one?
This was a resolution introduced to establish a select committee, specifically, quote, to investigate the cover-up of President Joseph Robinette Biden Jr.'s cognitive and physical health decline.
Wow, okay. And that went to the Rules Committee.
That's what the record says, referred to rules. So introducing this is a formal way for a member to put a very politically charged issue onto the congressional agenda.
And propose a mechanism, a special committee, to look into it.
Exactly. Its referral to rules means that committee decides what happens next, if anything. But just introducing it formally enters the issue into the process.
And it clearly reflects, well, some of the political dynamics and concerns of certain members right now.
It does. And we're just noting its introduction and referral as documented, not commenting on the substance itself, of course.
Right. Now, when members introduce all these bills and resolutions, they also have to cite their constitutional authority, don't they?
Yes, that's required. They submit a statement explaining which part of the Constitution they believe gives Congress the power to make that specific law.
So you see references to things like the Commerce Clause.
Often, yes. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3, or the Necessary and Proper Clause, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18. It's about grounding the proposal formally in the Constitution.
Okay, so ideas get introduced, but what if a bill gets stuck in committee? Are there ways to sort of force action?
There are procedural tools,
Yeah.
and the record shows one being used. Discharge petitions.
Right, the discharge petition. That's the mechanism where members can try and force a bill out of committee and onto the floor for a vote, correct?
Exactly. If a bill's been stuck in committee for a certain time, 218 members, a majority of the House, can sign a petition to bring it directly to the floor, bypassing committee leadership.
And we saw activity on those.
We did. 2 new discharge petitions, Petition 4 and Petition 5, were filed by Mr. Meeks that relate to House Resolutions 391 and 393.
And the record says members were signing them back on May 19th.
Right. The filing and the start of signature gatherings show an active push by supporters of those resolutions to get them a floor vote, even if they aren't moving the usual way. It's a tactic used when there might be broader support than within the committee itself.
And there was movement on an older petition, too.
Yeah, additions and withdrawals to Petition 2 related to H-Res 250. Shows these things are active. The signature lists can change as strategies shift.
Okay. One more big section in the record is the extensions of remarks. What's that all about?
Extensions of remarks. This is where members can submit statements to be included in the official record, even though they weren't actually spoken on the House floor.
And these are interesting because they give you a glimpse into what kinds of things do members put in there?
All sorts of things. It's often a window into what's important back their districts. They might pay tribute to people who passed away.
Like the Judge New Moyer from New York or Hattie Mae Love Petway Inge from California mentioned in the notes, honoring their careers and community impact.
Exactly. Or recognizing community achievements, like that senior center in New Hampshire hitting 2 million meals served, or the elementary school chess team in Tennessee winning championships.
So highlighting local successes on the national record.
Yep. Also honoring public servants, community leaders, staff members, local officials, retiring military figures like Major General Harris in Ohio, people who served on committees like Sang H.E.
They also use it for awareness months, right? Like brain cancer, ALS.
Very common. Brain cancer, GBS CIDP, even referencing related bills like H.R. 1143 ALS Awareness Month, Progressive Supranuclear Palsy Awareness Month. It's a way to elevate those causes.
They're celebrating anniversaries, too. Companies, sororities.
Dorothy Draper and Company's 100th, the Delta Sigma Theta chapter's centennial.
And recognizing individual achievements, like that teacher, Edward Donnellan Jr., who won an award partly for researching his school's history with slavery, or birthdays, local accomplishments.
All of that. It's very diverse. And finally, sometimes they enter statements on bigger policy issues, like Mr. Joe Wilson entering that op-ed by former Secretary Pompeo.
The Kurds deserve better. Why enter someone else's op-ed into the record?
It's a way for the member to formally signal strong agreement with that viewpoint, to amplify it, and make it part of the permanent congressional record.
So Mr. Wilson is essentially endorsing Pompeo's argument for more U.S. support for Kurdish autonomy in Iraq.
Precisely. He's putting that perspective into the official legislative history without needing to give a floor speech himself. It's another tool members have.
So looking back at this one day, May 29th, 2025, even with just a 2-minute floor session, it's clear there was an incredible amount going on.
Absolutely. The steady stream of agency reports feeding the oversight process.
Members introducing dozens of new bills and resolutions on every topic under the sun, reflecting national and local priorities.
Procedural moves like discharge petitions, showing efforts to push specific legislation forward.
And the extensions of remarks, capturing everything from local heroes and community news to awareness campaigns and foreign policy arguments.
It really is a snapshot of this incredibly complex, multi-layered legislative process.
And it underscores that while we often focus on the big floor debates or final votes you see on TV,
So much of the actual work, the information gathering, the initial proposals, the procedural tactics, acknowledging what's happening back home, happens continuously, often behind the scenes.
this dive into just one day's record really makes you appreciate the sheer volume, the amount of information, the number of distinct ideas flowing through Congress constantly.
It's immense. And it highlights the challenge, honestly, for anyone, members, staff, the public, us, to really stay on top of everything happening across that vast landscape every single day.